For anyone in the market for an action camera, it's almost impossible to not consider the Insta360 One RS simply for how good of a deal it is. You're getting a half-inch wide-angle camera and a 360 camera for what is essentially the price of a single GoPro. For that much value, one would naturally be skeptical about its quality. But it seems it just is that good of a deal. You can't see any corners being cut, and they're holding nothing back for $550. The One RS is the successor to the very popular Insta360 One R. I actually never tried the One R, so the One RS is my first experience with Insta360's modular action camera ecosystem. What's new and improved here is a bigger battery, the new One RS core, and this new 4K boost lens. The 360 module is the same from the One R. In fact, if you don't need this 360 module, instead of this twin edition, you can get the 4K edition, which is only $299. This 4K boost lens is very much the star of the show this time round. The image quality out of this certainly rivals today's best action cameras. It does have a half-inch sensor, which is big by action camera standards. The maximum frame rate you can record in 4K is actually a little interesting. It's either 30p or 60p, depending on whether or not you've enabled the in-camera flow state stabilization. The interesting thing is you get 60p only if you turn on the in-camera stabilization. If you decide to record your video without stabilization, because you do have the option to apply it in post, you're capped at 30p. There is a trade that takes place though. If you go the post-stabilization route, you get the additional option of recording 4K in OpenGate 4:3. This way you do capture quite a bit more image on the top and bottom of the frame, but personally for me I would choose to go for the internal flow state because of the 60p. I find the frame rate advantage to be something that brings more value over the extra vertical field of view. Plus, if you opt for in-camera flow state, your video is ready to share the moment you end your recording. If you wanted to post it onto social media, just transfer it to your phone using the app and it's good to go without requiring any additional work to process the video. In fact, this clip you're watching right now is shot using in-camera flow state set to standard, and you can see I'm not even actively trying to hold the camera steady. In fact, I'm going to purposely jiggle it about a bit. And it's incredibly effective. You're getting results that look like this straight out of camera. This 4K boost module also has one rather special trick up its sleeve. It can actually shoot 6K in a widescreen aspect ratio. It's actually the 2.35 by 1 CinemaScope aspect ratio. You're getting a native resolution of 6016 by 2560. So that's something quite neat you can pull off with this module. There is also an active HDR video mode for those high contrast situations. Insta360 did say this was designed to work even with action sports. This can also do slow motion at 100 FPS in 2.7K or 200 FPS in 1080p. It can shoot stills as well if you want it to at 48 megapixels, which, when you come to think of it, is actually more resolution than most mirrorless cameras. You operate the camera from the little touchscreen on the back of the core module, and I'd say it's pretty straightforward. I do like the Q menu very much. It lets you register a few of your most commonly used modes along with their settings, and it's really useful for jumping quickly between shooting modes. But in typical Insta360 fashion, you of course have the option to operate from the companion app as well. You can also edit what you've shot using the app and apply effects like time shift. For post-work, there is also a desktop version of the app called Insta360 Studio. I do find these apps become particularly important for working with what you've shot on the 360 module specifically. Now, speaking of this 360 module, if you get the twin edition like I have here, so you have both cameras at your disposal, you will feel spoiled for choice. Very often, I find myself stuck before shooting, debating whether I should shoot this in 360 or go with the 4K boost lens for a higher quality fixed frame. Sometimes it can actually be a very difficult decision. In case you do go with the very cool and very fun 360 module, it does still work with the invisible selfie stick. You just have to make sure that the camera is not angled relative to the stick. I also like that the kit ships with a nice protecting cover for the 360 lens because the lens protrudes on both sides. So this is very important for transporting the 360 lens. One more accessory included in the kit is a protective case for the One RS. Now, this case is actually a lot more important to the overall functionality of this camera than I first thought. First of all, the mounting point is on the case, so you would need the case to mount the One RS onto anything, including the invisible selfie stick. The case also holds the modules firmly together, so there is no way they can accidentally come apart during operation in the case, but critically, it completes the waterproofing. The One RS is waterproof up to 16 feet, but only with the case on. I assume that's because the case functions to seal many of the ingress points, so that's something very important to note. 16 feet of waterproofing is just under 5 meters, so you would still need a dive case if you're planning to take this deep under, but the default waterproofing on the One RS for most use cases should already be more than enough for getting some pretty unique shots underwater. Insta360 also says that the case helps with heat dissipation. There's a conductive surface on the inside of the case that draws heat away from the One RS core. Now, I personally can't speak for how much exactly that helps with thermals, but what I can say is from my experience using it, I've never had any issues with overheating when filming with the One RS. That includes outdoors on a hot day under severely punishing direct sun. So as far as I'm concerned, overheating is not something you need to worry about on the One RS. So truly, a ton of value in an otherwise not so big package. You're really not missing out on any capability at a price point this compelling. I have purchase links down in the description for anyone interested in getting one of these for yourself. And if you enjoyed this review, I'll see you in another one.